Hello. Welcome back to whatever this is. Listen. I had a bunch of videos. Well, a bunch is a little dramatic. I had very specific videos that I wanted to make. And you might be asking, well, then, Danny, where are those videos? Listen. It's Christmas, okay? It's Christmas. I just got caught up in preparing for Christmas, okay? I don't know what to tell you, okay? Christmas is the best time of the year for a reason, okay? I feel like I live all year long just for Christmas. I mean, I'm serious. Like, the second that I realize that Christmas is coming, I'm just happy. I just love Christmas. And I make a lot of things for Christmas. And so, yeah, I've just been, like, anytime I'm not working, I've just been focused on the Christmas stuff that I'm making. But Christmas is almost over, and I don't want to talk about it because it's really heartbreaking to me, but it is almost over. And I do still want to work on those other topics because I'm not done. They haven't seen the last of me, okay? There is still so much about them that I want to explore and learn, and I'm so excited. But this is a currently reads, well, this video, how do you explain? This is just what I've been reading for the past few months and what I'm currently reading kind of stuff, get you up to date on that. I am currently reading The Tale of Genji by Murasaki, and I think I am about 700 pages into this. Just look at the illustration. This is just beautiful. I've been, this is Genji, I assume, which, he looks fine, whatever. But I think this is Murasaki, not like Murasaki in the book. I don't, did she put herself into the Murasaki character? Well, I didn't know. But I love this fabric. Just stunning. I was sitting this like this so I could view this at all times, but it was starting to tilt, so I stopped. I think there's 1,200 pages. Well, no, 1,100 pages. And so I have about 600. I have about 400. About 400 pages left of this book. And honestly, this masterpiece of ancient Japanese literature, I don't even know how I feel about it. It's just like a sigh. If I could explain this whole word or this whole book in the shortest way possible, it would just be, it's just a sigh. It's just a sigh. I don't know how to explain it. It's just a sigh. And Genji, listen. Majority of the book, I'm just like, Genji, what are you doing? Genji, what's wrong with you? But you know what? Now that I'm, a little over halfway, okay? Well, I guess more than a little over halfway, but I'm kind of like, maybe Genji isn't half bad. And I hate to say it. This book just makes me so grateful that I was not born in this time period. Being a court lady seems so awful. Just the restriction is insane. I mean, it's like they can't even breathe without restraint, without someone controlling them, and like they're just, it's like they're not even allowed to move on their own, and it makes me claustrophobic sometimes. Like, this book kind of makes me anxious. Although I don't know what it would have been like for the everyday Japanese people, because so far there's been two people, I guess. Very, very, very small percentage are they in the book, but two people who have appeared who were not born and raised in the court. And when I tell you they are just a complete breath of fresh air, it makes me so curious what majority of the Japanese people were like and what the customs were for them, because this is just, I mean, the people that are in this book are just the richest of the rich, right? And so the two characters that have popped in who are not in this very tight-knit court life community or whatever are just so different that I love it. They're my favorite characters. And they, I don't know what, 2-3 pages maximum if you put all their stories together, like 2 or 3 pages out of this whole thing. I love them. I think Murasaki, though, if this is I mean, who else would this be? Who else would they put on the cover if not Murasaki, the character in the book? I mean, who else would they put in it? She's my favorite, probably. But yeah, I'm gonna keep reading it. I've just been reading it a little bit here and there, and this may or may not have something to do with a topic that I want to like dive into. I did read the Diary of Lady Murasaki, which is a nonfiction. Do I own that? Yes, I do. Actually, yeah. It's right here. I read this, the Diary of Lady Mir. I went to my used bookstore because I can never find this stuff's from the high-end period of Japan, and I can never find, when I go places, I never find it. And I went into my used bookstore one day. I was there for something else. Like, I wasn't there to buy a book for me. I was there for something else. I was buying a book for, like, I don't remember, but I just was like, yeah, I'm just gonna take a quick look at the classics. I have to. I can't come into here without looking at the classics. And I go over there, and I just, I'm just curious. I look at the M's. I'm like, they're not gonna have it, but I just want to see. And when I tell you, I just froze. Like, when I saw this, I was like, no way. There's no way. There's no way that they have that. What? I couldn't believe it. I got it. I snatched it up. I was like, that's mine. That's mine. I'm taking that one. And this was okay. This was fine. So the Diary of Lady Mir, like I said, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's excerpts from her diary. I'm pretty sure these are just all of the ones that have survived, which is not a lot. I mean, it's very just quick glimpses into the everyday court life. It's not like a full-fledged diary or anything. It was interesting because you do get to see a lot of the customs, and they just live so differently from like how I live. So it's interesting in that regard. But the reason that I'm just like to this book is because the Pillow Book, that's a nonfiction. Now that is a nonfiction book. I do have it. One second. The Pillow Book. This is another nonfiction book from the high-end period of Japan. It's another court lady. I have no idea how you say her name. I have to look it up. I don't know. Say Shonagen? I don't know. Hello, it's me. I just looked up how to say her name, and I said it correctly. I can't even believe it. It's Sei Shonagen, which I'm pretty sure is what I said. So, yeah. I think this basically means that I'm a genius. She's another court lady during this time who wrote a diary as well, or showcasing, her daily life. I love her. I'm so sorry about the fridge. I love her so much. She is just, I think her tone is just so insanely different from Like Murasaki is very just, the sigh. Going back to the sigh, like I don't know how to explain it. It's just the sigh, okay? And in Station again, I don't know how to say the name. The Pillow Book is just way more funny and makes me happy when I read it, whereas this kind of makes me like anxious. Of like, oh thank gosh, I didn't live back then. Like it seems so awful. Whereas this, she's just showcasing all the jokes they make and the laughs that they make, and I love this. I'm not far into it at all. I'm only on page 40, but I do want to keep reading this because I'm like obsessed with her. I don't know how to say it. I love her. And there is even there's a paragraph in here, or I guess a couple sentences, but where Murasaki basically disses her. And she clearly did not approve of her more flamboyant attitude. Like Murasaki clearly did not approve of this lady's flamboyant attitude, but I love it. I absolutely love it. I do also have, going along with these three, I do have As I Crossed a Bridge of Dreams, which I haven't read at all. I haven't even read a tiny bit of it. This is also from Heian period. It says from Lady Sarashina. I do want to read this as well, and I'm sure you can probably guess the kind of video I want to make with this. Maybe. Okay, maybe. I also went through a huge, well, I say huge, the beginning of a huge, I don't even know how to describe it, but okay, so I read Moby Dick back in like February/March, and I mean, I had loved it. I adored it, right? And when I, finished it, I was like, like I finished the book physically, into the last page, but I'm just like, I'm not done with you yet. I'm not done with you yet, Herman Melville. No. But, I just, I picked up other books or whatever. But this whole year, Moby Dick has just, it's just been knocking on the back of my head this whole entire year. And I have not been able to stop thinking about it. And it was getting to the point where I felt like I was going to lose my mind. I was like, I have to do something with it. Like, I need to do something to get all of this Herman Melville, Moby Dick energy out of me. It needs to go. And so I started reading books about Moby Dick and Herman Melville and sperm whales. I read The Whale. I got it from the library. I don't remember who it's by, obviously. And this one was okay. The beginning of it, okay, basically what I was really looking for was a book that, because Herman Melville in Moby Dick, there's so many topics that he touches on. And I wanted a book that delves deeper into those topics, explains more about how he got that information, how he learned those things, what the state of such and such was at those times and stuff like that. And The Whale did that for like the first half of the book. The first half of the book, I was having the time of my life with it. I loved it. But the second half of it, it was really odd because it veers off into just the author describing his own personal experiences with whales, which it's just not exciting. This book disappointed me, to be honest. But it's okay because the book that I picked up after this, I went to my library. I went to a different library, a bigger one. And I just went and looked. And I picked up all the Moby Dick books. And I read Ahab's Rolling Sea. I don't remember the author again. And oh my gosh, this was everything I wanted. This book was everything I had ever dreamed of. I'm serious. It goes into all of the different topics that Herman Melville talks about, and and goes into the science behind like those animals per se, or the information behind an industry per se, or what he would have known at the time, and what information was available, and what people at the time knew about these animals. I mean, I loved it. I kept renewing it as long as I could. I think like I renewed it 3 times. Is that the max? And then I eventually had to give it back. But I will rent it out again, okay? Because I want to make some Moby Dick videos. I do. I'm not done. Like, I'm not finished with Herman Melville. You can see Herman Melville somewhere, and you can even see Moby Dick somewhere behind me, celebrating Christmas, okay? And I'm not done. I'm surprised I haven't turned into a whale at this point, because all I've been thinking about for the past few months is whales. Just whales. Just whales. I don't care about anything else, just whales. You know, I was talking to someone about it the other day, and this is what always happens. You know, whenever you show a love for a topic, people are like, oh, you should have studied that, blah, blah, blah. You should have gone to school for that, whatever. And, you know, I was talking to someone about this the other day, and they were like, oh, you should have become a marine biologist. And I was like, no. You don't understand. I'm not interested in sperm whales just because they're sperm whales. No. I'm interested in sperm whales because of Herman Melville and Moby Dick. Like, it's through the book that I'm into sperm whales. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the reason I love it, because he takes something I love, which is so rare nowadays, when literature, artistic writing, is combined with science. When science is written and expressed in a way that connects to human emotions, I just eat it up. And that is what Herman Melville does. He talks about sperm whales and all the different aspects of sperm whales, about other types of whales, about other types of sea creatures, about the whaling industry, and he talks about all of it in the most poetic, just mind-blowing way that it makes me feel like, okay, you know what? You know how they say when you die, your life flashes before your eyes? I don't know what the most important events. I don't know. Okay, tell me if you know what happens when you die and what flashes before your eyes. But listen, when I die, a sperm whale is gonna flash before my eyes, 100%, no doubt about it. I mean, I've just been obsessed. I really wanted to continue reading more and more books and diving deeper, but Christmas. So it's Christmas time. I don't know what to tell you. So Moby Dick's gonna have to wait until, Christmas is almost over. So Moby Dick's not gonna have to wait that long, okay? And I'm so excited because I have so many, I'm not finished at all. Also, I read The Clockwork Universe by Edward Dolnick. It's just a really basic introduction into the scientific revolution. When I was in 10th grade, I loved the scientific revolution, and this kind of brought back some memories. I had this book, The Invention of Science by David Wooton, and no. It's actually not that big. It looks big, but it's not. I wanted to read it because it was big, and I was so excited. But the last 200 pages are just notes. This whole thing right here, this is all just notes. So the book itself is only 570 pages. So it's not actually as big as it looks. I find most things very interesting. Even if something initially isn't interesting to me, I can usually convince myself to be interested in it. But there is one thing that for the life of me, I just find so boring, and I have tried to find it interesting and I can't. And that is the history of language. What do you call that? Linguistics. Basically, understanding how language changes and what those changes can tell us about history, and just blah, 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 blah. I hate it. This book made me want to I don't even, does it even say in, oh my gosh, it does. I was like, does it even say on the summary synopsis that this has a focus on language? It does. I think I read about 200 pages of this before I had to stop for my own sanity, because I kept hoping that if I read more, he would stop. Like, I thought maybe him diving into the change of the words they would, like their language, the words they would use and say, I would hoped maybe he just needed to get it out of his system, and then he'd stop. But he didn't stop. And I kept hoping that he would stop. And finally, I'm just like, I can't, because it was getting to the point where I was so annoyed when he would mention anything about a word that everything he would say just started to piss me off. I'm selling it. I'm getting rid of it. I'm also selling this one. I mean, I sell most things. I don't really keep a lot of books, honestly, but this one was fine. It's just like, I don't care to keep it, It's fine. I had a fun time with it, but like, it's, it's a basic thing. And I really need another book that is more in depth in the scientific revolution, but not in a linguistic word kind of way. Please spare me. And then, I saw this book. Well, I think I had seen this, but I didn't think anything about it. But then on Goodreads, I looked at, when I finished this, I looked at books that are similar, and they had this, and I was like, I've seen that, I know where I can get that, and so I got this, and I just started reading it. I'm not far in it at all. I'm on page 40, but I did pick up The Case of the Dueling Neuroscientists on the Kindle app. I have a hard time remembering book names if it's like on Kindle. I think a lot of people do. I really like having a book on my phone at all times that I can read. And that one was, I think, $2.99, whereas the rest of Sam Keen's books were like $10+ for ebook. But that one, the neuroscientist one, was $2.99. So I was like, I'll read that one. I'm almost done with it, and I'm loving it. It's so fun to just read about, I love the history of science, and all of his books are like the history of science. I mean, he has one that was it's like the history of surgery or something. I want to read that one so much, but my library doesn't have it, and I put in a request, but in terms of I'll actually get that. But this one I'm reading physically, and then The Case of Dueling Neuroscientists I'm reading on ebook, although I am, like I said, almost finished with it. I can't say much about this because I just started it, but the 40 pages I've read, I'm really enjoying. And The Case of the Dueling Neuroscientists, I'm also really enjoying, because, like, obviously if you know a lot about neuroscience, you probably will find it very boring and not showing anything new to you, but like I don't, and so I don't know a lot about it, and so I really enjoy it because he basically is showing the development of our understanding of how the brain works, and the way that he's showcasing these developments is through a specific case. So in order to show how humans figured out how, like, this one area of the brain works, for example, he'll zero in on a specific case that helped and was basically very crucial in helping scientists understand that part of the brain. And the cases that he talks about are just so interesting. I mean, every time that he's talking about a case, I'm like, I could have a whole book just on this case on its own. Like, I'm loving it so much, and I'm sad that it's almost over, honestly. I want to just read all his books because I just think they're just a fun, you're tired at the end of the day. You worked all day, you're tired. You just want a nice book to read that's fun. And I feel like his books are that. Sadly, I don't know how to get the rest of his books without paying for them. I'm also almost finished with Revelations of Divine Love. Started reading this because there is where's it at? I can't move you. I'm sorry. I bought this book a long time ago, and I love it so much. Each page has, just one passage from this book, and I just love it. I can't even explain to you how much I love it. And so I really wanted to read the whole thing, and so I've been reading this, and I'm almost done with it. I did read, do I have any here? Oh my gosh, I read Oblomov by, I have no idea. how to say his name. I have no idea. I had known about this book for a while and I was interested in it, but you know, it was just kind of in the back burner. And then one day I was at my used bookstore and I saw this and I almost cried. And I picked it up and I read it and I really enjoyed this. It's basically about a man named Oblomov who is wealthy and he just does nothing. He's extremely lazy. He just lays in bed all day yelling at his servant. And that's all I knew going into it. And I think that might even be all it says on the back. Yeah, that's all it says on the back. I read somewhere, I don't remember where I read it, but before I read this, I had read a comment somewhere of someone saying like, oh, he lays in bed for like 40 pages, you know? So I in my head, I thought this whole book was just gonna be him like barely doing anything and like yelling at people and like an analysis of him. This book is so much more than that. So much more than that. This book goes places I had no idea. And I had so much fun reading this. I did. I thought it was really cute, honestly. Like I was not expecting, like there's just so many moments that like are just like awkward. I'm like, okay, but this book was so fun. I really enjoyed that. I went into it just thinking that this was just a book about lazy Oblomov and he's just gonna lay in bed all day. And then seeing where this book went was really fun. I don't even know what, 1859. I was gonna say, I don't really know what year this was published. 1859. And yes, I'm really happy that I read it. And it's just cute little book. Look at that, it's cute. I did also read The Stranger by Albert Camus. I just saw it on Libby, my library. And so I just read it and I hated it. I hated it. No. If you want a book of a philosopher who believes in all life is meaningless, I mean, E.M. Sioran is the man. Like, this whole book, I'm just offended. I'm offended that Albert Camus is 10,000 times more popular than E.M. Sioran. I don't even know if that's how you say his name. Hello, it is me. I am coming in here to tell you that, yes, I pronounced his name incorrectly, and I will continue to mispronounce his name for the rest of the video. Apparently, it's pronounced Chioran. Like, how was I supposed to know that? Okay, forgive me. This does not illegitimize my love for him, okay? When I say that I love him and I pronounce his name wrong, you can't say that it's not true. She didn't say his name right. How was I supposed to know? How do I look at that and know intuitively that's Chuck? I think I deserve a pass. In fact, you might want to give me multiple passes because I think there are other instances in this video where I mispronounce people's names. Okay, how am I supposed to know? How do I just have to look up every single person's name that I come across? Okay, I've never heard anyone talk about E.M. Chioran before, so I never knew how to pronounce it. But I know now. That was pride. As I continue to say his name wrong, just know that it's Chioran, and know that I'm better now because I've learned, okay? Because now I know that it's Chioran, not Sioran. I have a soft spot in my heart for that man. I have two of his books. I have this guy is just falling away here. Whatever. I was put him here. I have Tears and Saints. See, I don't actually know if that's how you say E.M. Sioran. I have Tears and Saints, and I have The Trouble with Being Born, and I also had On the Heights of Despair, but I sold it. E.M. Sioran feels so much more real to me, and it probably is because of the way these are written, the way that E.M. Sioran writes his books, if you'll call them that. E.M. Sioran, I just connect to so much more, and so a lot of the same stuff that Albert Camus says, when I read The Stranger, I'm just like, yeah, okay, yeah, okay. But when I read E.M. Sioran, I'm just like, oh man, yeah, I get it, man, I get it, yeah, he's right. And they're two very different books, so you might say it's not really fair to compare them, but I feel like I can compare them because they both were living at the same time. E.M. Sioran was from Romania, but he did live in Paris for a period of, I don't know how long, but he did live in France. Albert Camus was French. Their philosophy about the meaninglessness of life is very similar. So I feel like I can compare them, and if I'm going to ingest that kind of philosophy, it's gonna be by this man. It's gonna be by this man, okay? This man is the one. And the reason these books are very different from Camus' books is because the way that Ian Stjorn writes, he just writes in like thoughts, is basically what it is like. So even in this one, it's just like thoughts. And it's not, you know, a story. These are nonfiction. On the Heights of Despair is like, see, these can be short-ish, longish. On the Heights of Despair is like an essay. So he'll have like a topic, and then there's kind of an essay-ish, just a paragraph, a lengthy paragraph that will take like half a page or a whole page or 2 pages. That's basically what that is. There's a lot of things he says and believes that, you know, I don't agree with, I don't believe in. But the despair of living and the meaninglessness of so much of our lives, I mean, he just gets it. He just gets it. This to me is like, when I read The Stranger, it was like a textbook example of what it means to be, what this philosophy means. Whereas this felt like it's a philosophy, like I'm too dumb to explain what I'm thinking. This feels like he's taking that philosophy and he's connecting with me with it. He's connecting to me with it. I mean, I will give a disclaimer. I think that Ian Stjorn, if I'm saying his name wrong, I need to quit saying his name so many times because I can say it. But I should give a disclaimer, I guess. Like, his books are, listen, if you go pick up one of his books and you get sad, don't blame me, okay? These books are very heartbreaking, if you will. I mean, I can just read you one if you want. My mission is to suffer for all those who suffer without knowing it. I must pay for them, expiate their unconsciousness, their luck to be ignorant of how unhappy they are. Seen from the outside, harmony reigns in every sect, clan, and party. Seen from the inside, discord. Conflicts in a monastery are as frequent and as envenomed as in any society. Even when they desert hell, men do so only to reconstruct it elsewhere. When someone tells us an unfavorable opinion about ourselves, instead of being distressed, we should think of all the evil we have spoken of others, and realize it is only justice that as much should be said of ourselves. Existence equals torment. The equation seems obvious to me, but not to one of my friends. How to convince him? I cannot lend him my sensations, yet only they would have the power to persuade him, to give him that additional dose of ill-being he has so insistently asked for all this time. I mean, what more could you ask for? What more could you ask for? The way with words that this man had. The whole time I was reading The Stranger, I'm just like, just give me Stjorn. Just give me anything Stjorn has written over this. Just no. I was just upset reading The Stranger because I'm like, this is not fair. This isn't fair that Albert Camus is so famous and like no one knows about him. It's not fair. It's not fair. Albeit, I think Albert Camus is much more reader friendly in terms of, I don't know, your mental health. I did read another book. I read Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. How do you say her name? I've heard it so many times. I spy her somewhere on my wall. If I move over, she's celebrating Christmas with us today, along with everyone else. I loved this book. So I read this physically. I read it on my ebook form, and I listened to it. So I did all three. And I listened to the audiobook of it by Scott Brisick. I don't know his name, but incredible. He did such a fantastic job, and I feel so grateful. Like, I could never, can you imagine having to sit and say all this? No. No. It was so good, the audiobook. I think I read this, what was that video? Spring books I read in the spring. I read this right after that. So I read this, I guess, back in June. It's June, the start of summer. I think so. I read this then, and I was obsessed. I read this whole thing, I think, in like a week and a half, 2 weeks, because I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop reading it. There was just so much in this book, in her philosophy, that really resonated with me, as I think it has with so many people. That's why it has, become such a monumental book. Honestly, I kind of want to reread it. Or more like, I kind of want to listen to the audiobook again, because he did such a good job with the audiobook. Actually, I also read, I completely forgot to mention this. In my whole Moby Dick thing, I listened to an audiobook about the whale ship Essex. It being attacked by a whale, and then by a sperm whale, and then the subsequent fight for survival of the inhabitants of the ship, the eventual death of majority of them, and the eventual turn to cannibalism and things like that. I finished that, and then I saw that the narrator of this audiobook, he's narrated a ton of stuff, and I want to listen to his audiobooks because I'm really picky with audiobook narrators, but I really like him. But a lot of the books he's narrated, I just have zero interest in. There was a book that he narrated, I don't remember what it was called, but it's a nonfiction account of, they go on this scientific expedition to the Arctic Ocean and end up getting trapped in the Arctic Ocean during the winter. And oh my gosh, that book put me through it. I mean, it was like a horror story, but real life. Like a nonfiction horror story. And I was like distressed. I felt like my life was on pause until I finished that audiobook. I couldn't think about anything else. I couldn't do anything else until I knew what was going to happen. I'm like, surely if we know all this, like someone survives, but who survives, who dies, what happens? I mean, it's just like setback after setback. Like you think they're gonna go like get somewhere and get better, and then it just sets them back. I mean, it is horrifying. When I read, I try to envision myself in their shoes, and there are so many moments where like I would start to picture myself in their shoes, and my mind would just be like, nope, and I just couldn't do it. For my own sanity, I could not do it. I have had this like anxiety that I'm gonna get trapped in the Arctic Ocean. Somehow, some way, I'm gonna end up somewhere up there, and I'm gonna get trapped. And I'm gonna have to spend up there in the winter surviving. No. And you might say, like, how's that even gonna happen? That's such an easy thing to avoid. But you never know. Okay, one decision could lead to another, and then all of a sudden, I'm trapped in the Arctic Ocean. And there was another book that blew my mind. There's this man, Stefan, I don't know. But he knows who he is. And he was partly responsible, basically, for this thing happening. He was in charge of the whole thing. He poorly planned it and everything, whatever. And he, I'm not going to spoil what happened, okay? But I was flabbergasted this whole book by this man. I mean, this man, you're just like appalled by this dude's conscience that just doesn't exist. And then I found out when I finished the book that there is another book about I forgot what do they call the indigenous people up there? I don't remember, but she has a nonfiction account of her survival. Because a lot of times when people would go on these scientific expeditions, they would hire the people who live there to come and help them. And she goes, and she ends up being the only survivor of that expedition. And imagine my surprise when I find out that the guy that was responsible for the ship, the expedition of the book that I read, is also responsible for the expedition from that other book. What? I couldn't believe it. I was like, he did it again. What? He literally did it again. And I'm really interested in reading that other book. I'm so interested. but I need some time because the one that I listened to put me through it. I need some time to calm down, to repair my mental state from that book before I read the other one. What else have I read? I read Middlemarch. I read Middlemarch by George Eliot. I'll show you. I read Middlemarch by George Eliot, and then I thought this was fine. It was fine. It was an okay way to pass my time, but I didn't love it. And then when I was finished with it, I was just kind of sick. Like, I wanted more Victorian stuff, but I was just absolutely sick of Victorian novels where, like, there's just so much of the book is focused on marriage and who they're gonna marry, and I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I get that, for a lot of women that was, like, that was the biggest decision they'll make. Like, who they marry is determining the rest of their life. I get it, but like, I just I just need a break. I need a break. I just read too much of it because I also read The Tenet of Wildfield Hall, and then I read this right after, and I needed some time off from like the focus of the book being on who they're gonna marry. And so I read Elizabeth Gaskell, which I spy. Elizabeth Gaskell is here celebrating Christmas with us today. She's kind of in disguise, but she's here. She's here if you can find her. And I read North and South. And then I read Mary Barton. I forgot the name for it. I was like, Mary something. I read them on ebook, so it's just hard for me to remember the titles. But I read North and South, and I read Mary Barton, and I loved them. It was exactly what I needed at the time, because after reading The Tenet of Wildfield Hall and Middlemarch, Elizabeth Gaskell's books were exactly what I was needing. It was so refreshing to read these Victorian novels with a female main character where the last thing on her mind is marriage and who she's going to marry. She has so many other things to deal with. And also, she's not rich. I was kind of sick of like all the characters just having money. Like, they all live in mansions and stuff. And I'm like, can you just like, does anyone not live in a mansion in these books? At least in North and South and Mary Barton is dealing with a lot more of like the everyday people, the poverty, the working class. And I love her female main characters. They are just focused on surviving and not about who they're going to marry. And which, to me, that's just so much more relatable. Like, I don't, like, please, I just want to see a girl trying to survive. And I love it. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I do want to read more from her. I'm just not sure which. For the time, Elizabeth Gaskell really gave me what I was needing. I read The Woman in White. I thought it was okay. I think that was my second. Was it? Okay, I read No Name by Wilkie Collins. And then I read The Woman in White. I preferred No Name by Wilkie Collins, to be honest. So The Woman in White has like multiple POVs, right? And like multiple letters, whatever. And every character I loved except the main male character. I just found him so boring. Every character in this, I really enjoyed. I liked reading from their, how these things played out from their perspective. But when you get to parts in the book where you're reading these events from this guy's perspective, I had to push through it. He's just so dull and boring, and he does, in the middle, he's like gone. And I had the time of my life in the middle of the book, but in the beginning and in the end, when you're getting a lot from his perspective, I don't know, like, he was just so boring to me, and it really affected my overall enjoyment of the book, because when he would pop up again, I'm like, oh, like I would be enjoying it, and then he would pop up, and then I'm just reading to like, hurry up, like say what you gotta say, and let's get on to the other girls, like, come on, sir. What else did I read? I did read a lot of Mesopotamian stuff for the Mesopotamian video. I think on my Goodreads specifically, I literally don't have you'd think I'd have my Goodreads in front of me to film this video, but no. I think I only ended up putting 4 books on my Goodreads as fully read, because there was a ton of books that I read just parts of. And so the Babylon Life and History. There's like a Barnes and Noble one. I would just like to quickly apologize to Mr. E.A. Wallace Budge for the way that I just completely ignore him and don't even mention him. But I did really enjoy this book and I definitely valued it. So I'm really sorry, E.A. Wallace Budge. Listen, it was just in the moment of the video, I just was like, whatever. But I swear I'm very thankful for your book. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry. I read that, and I've already sold it, so I don't have it anymore. But I read that from front to back. And then there was a one on Kindle Unlimited about the Babylonians. I read that one. I read this Mesopotamian history textbook front to back. And then there was the Literature of Ancient Sumer, Sumer. I still don't know which one is right. Sumer, whatever. And I read that front to back, and that was probably one of my favorite textbooks that I read. I think it's just an invaluable source because finding collections put that nicely of stories is I couldn't find anywhere else. So those are the only ones that I put as read on my Goodreads, because a lot of the books that I picked up, which were a ton, I kept picking up more and more books, and it got to a point where I'm like, you gotta make the video at some point, Danny. Like, you gotta go. I just kept picking up more and more and more and more, and I kept finding like more and more textbooks that I could read, and I could not stop. And I was like, it's time to stop. It's time to stop, Danny. And so I did eventually stop and make that video. I think that video took me like 3 months to like read everything and figure out how I wanted to make it and divide it up and then actually film it. And then once I finished it, like filming, then I had to edit it. And the editing took me forever, but I loved it. I don't care that it took me forever because I had so much fun and I got to do so many like new things in terms of like editing and Photoshop and stuff for that. And so I had a lot of fun with it. I think I had like a whole month there where I was just every day, all I was reading was either literature written by Mesopotamians or books about Mesopotamia. So I really liked it. What else did I read? I'm forgetting things, totally forgetting things. Let me look at my Goodreads. Let me pull it up and see if there's any last things I need to tell you about. Or want to tell you about, I should say. I think that's more like it. Want to tell you about. I don't have my info. Sorry, I don't know my... I'm struggling. I'll be right back. I gotta go look something else. Oh, God. I gotta look at my computer. Oh my gosh, I did. I listened to the audiobook of The Mysterious Case of Rudolph Diesel. Yeah, I did that one, yeah. Oh, I read The Convenience Store Woman. Didn't like it. Woman. It was okay, whatever. The guy was disgusting. Like, what? Ew. I read Yevgen Onegin. It was alright. I read The Awakening by Kate Chopkin. What did I say? Kate Chopin? That's it, yeah. Yeah. I listened to the audiobook of The Mysterious Case of Rudolph Diesel. Was that also by Scott? I think it was, actually, yeah. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, man, for narrating. And I read Yevgen Onegin, and I thought it was fine. The thing I enjoyed about it was just reading it out loud, because it was really fun to read out loud, because it like rhymes, but yeah, it was fine. I didn't like love it or anything. And then I read Kate Chopin, The Awakening, which is just a short story, and I liked that one. I loved the ending of it. I think the reason that I remember The Awakening so well is because of the ending. I don't know. I just loved the ending. Like, it was just like, oh, I loved it. Or maybe not po, but like, po. I did all this book, and I've read like 285 pages. Honestly, I'm not even sure. I feel like I have to finish it because I was so excited about this book when I found it. But it's not bad. I've loved the stuff that I've read. Like, it's really fun. It's like something that you can just read little bits of here and there. It's not, very captivating or anything. But The Good Soldier Shvek. I've learned how to say his name now. Shvek. Okay. The Good Soldier Shvek. I know how to say his name. I know how to say his name now. Okay. I've learned a thing or two since the last time I showed you that book. But that's it. That's all. Those are all the books that I've read since the spring video, if you will. And I've had such a fun time reading. I mean, it's my favorite thing to do when I'm not working, is to not just read, but like think about the things I've been reading and like incorporate, like do creative things with them. It makes me so happy. And so there are still topics, like I said, of High in Japan and Moby Dick and Herman Melville that I'm not done with at all. And I'm very excited to continue having fun with those in the new year, next year. Hopefully it's not too long. It's a long video, isn't it? I already know. How long have I been? An hour and 27 minutes. Yeah. What am I gonna tell you? I feel it in my throat. I don't know, but you know what? Merry Christmas. It's Christmas. I don't care if my throat is dying. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. It's the best time of the year. Merry Christmas, okay? Merry Christmas from me and from Herman Melville and Moby Dick. Herman Melville. They say Merry Christmas. And have a happy Christmas, happy time. Goodbye.